readings of the day. I am now going to present to you before module number 11 of paper 2, Indian Women Writers. All literary canons have been dominated by male writers to the exclusion of writings by women till very recently, when feminist movements and feminist literary criticisms came into play to reclaim and establish the position of women writings within the mainstream literary culture. The first trace of women writing is attributed to the advent of Buddhism, which as a religion offered women a certain level of freedom from sexually coded roles to pursue things outside the boundaries of home. Women write poetry in the Pali language during this time. Later, in the 12th century AD, there have been some women poets in the Bhakti tradition writing in reaction to caste oppression. Another type of women writers were the courtesans and chroniclers, some in the Mughal court writing in Persian and some in other kingdoms writing in Indian languages. The next spurt in women's education and writing occurred in the 19th century with the advent of the Indian Renaissance and reformist movements, along with their participation in the struggle against British rule. This was a new beginning in the development of women's writings in India. Modern education was given an impetus in British India, and women were provided with the opportunity to educate themselves. One outstanding talent to emerge during this stream was Ruqayya Sakhawat Hussain, born 1880, died in 1932, who wrote in the 19th and early 20th century. Her novel Sultana's Dream, written in 1905, is a feminist utopian fantasy in which she creates a world in which men have no role to play. Indian writings in English have achieved great height in the recent years and has grown into a body of writing with its own global appeal. During this period, the novel as a literary genre, with its success, with its powerful scope of giving expression to experiences and challenges of the modern world, has flourished more than any other. Writers like Kamla Markande, Ruth Parwar Chhabwala, Anita Desai, Bharati Mukherjee, Namita Gokhale, Shashi Deshpande, Nayanthara Sehgal, Shobha De, Arundhati Roy and Kiran Desai have in their creative expressions very successfully brought the Indian cultural ethos and the predicaments of Indian women before the world. These writers have dealt with themes as wide-ranging as the clash between tradition and modernity, rapid urbanization, search for identity, quest for independence, the freedom movement, the East-West encounter, the trauma of partition, and also the contemporary world of globalized economy. To the first generation of women writers belong Kamala Markande, born 1924, died 2004. She published her novel Nectar in a Sieve in 1955. This novel deals with the pleasures and pains of the Indian agrarian society dependent completely on the mercy of nature with its fury of flood and drought. The novel exposes the patriarchal practice of holding the woman responsible for not being able to bear children. Markandeya engages with the theme of East-West clash in her novels. Possession and Nowhere Man. In her novels, Some Inner Fury, A Silence of Desire, and Two Virgins, she deals with the female search for identity vis-a-vis tradition and modernity. A Handful of Rice, The Cofferdams, The Pleasure City deal with urbanization and the technological development of Indian society and its impact on society and culture. Her last novel, Bombay Tigers, depicts the greed and corruption of the newly rich businessmen and the status of women in their world. Ruth Pawar Chhabwala. Ruth, born in 1927, died 2013, is the first Indian woman novelist to win the prestigious Booker Prize in 1975 for her novel Heat and Dust. This novel delineates the relationship between the English rulers and the Indian subjects. She has mostly written about urban India. Her writing style is marked by irony, humor, and sympathy. She has written about the precarious, rootless condition of the foreigners in India and also the tragicomic rootless condition of westernized Indians who do not feel at home with their fellow countrymen. Nayanthara Sehgal, born 1927, is alive. She is a writer of political novel in India. All her novels deal with some political event in India. Rich Like Us, 1985, published in 1985, is Sehgal's best novel, bringing her the Sahitya Akademi Award. The book deals with the turbulent months of national emergency in India in 1975 to 1976 under the dictatorship of her cousin Indira Gandhi. Sehgal presents an ironic view of the country aftermath of independence and the slow descent of the country to that situation. She shows that the emergency was the precipitated result of the slow erosion of moral values among the bureaucrats and also the people at large after independence. Shashi Deshpande, born in 1938, is also alive. Her novel and short stories are rooted in the Indian middle class. Her first novel, The Dark Holds No Terror, published in 1980, is the story of Sarita, whose parents show a marked preference for her brother over her. She is held responsible for his accidental death. Defying all norms, she becomes a doctor and marries outside her caste. The marriage initially is a happy one, but soon a source of trauma for her and her husband, unable to accept his wife's success, takes out his resentment on her at night. Deshpande's fifth novel, The Long Silence, published in 1988, fetched her the Sahitya Akademi Award. The novel is a critique of marriage and the hollowness of the upwardly mobile middle class of Indian society. Indian cities. Deshpande's novels are women centric. She depicts through her characters what it means to be a woman in modern India. She has used stream of consciousness as a narrative technique in her novels. Anita Desai, born 1937, alive, is among India's internationally acclaimed Indian women writer. She has 10 novels to her credit. Her novels are studies of the female psyche and psychological portraits of rebellious women who consider themselves victims of the patriarchal structures of family and social life. Anita Desai is a feminist writer who believes in the complete development of the potential of women outside the traditional roles of a homemaker. She also probes the existential problems of human life in her writing. Bharati Mukherjee, born 1940, still alive, is an Indian American novelist and short story writer. Her writings depict the immigrant experience of Indian women in America. Mukherjee's female protagonists suffer culture shocks in a new land. Some have the potential to reorient themselves and adapt to their own environment, while others are unable to survive. Her first novel, The Tiger's Daughter, published in 1972, is the story of Tara Banerjee, who comes back to India after 7 years of stay in America, where she marries a Jew. She is jolted by the culture shock in America, but when she returns to India, she finds herself a misfit among her culturally conservative relatives. Mukherjee is critical of the conservative attitudes of Indians towards marriage and their preoccupation with caste. Shobha De is known for depicting the lives of upper middle class socialite women. Her novel Socialite Evenings, published in 1989, depicts the life of high society people, their false priorities in life, and their moral, spiritual, and intellectual bankruptcy. Shobha De's portrayal of the sexual exploits of her women characters is uninhibited and candid. Her other novels are Strange Obsessions, Second Thoughts, Sultry Days, Speed Post, etc. Namita Gokhale, born in 1956, still alive, is another Indian writer to explore the search for identity and sexual freedom in her novels. Her first novel, Paro, Dreams of Passion, published 1984, depicts the life of Paro, a pleasure-seeking girl who gets involved in several relationships and ultimately she meets a tragic end. Now, let us consider the second generation women writers. Among them, the first name is that of Arundhati Roy, born 1961. She became, and still alive, she became famous with her Booker Prize winning novel The God of Small Things, published 1997. The novel relates the tragic story of Velutha, an outcast, and his relationship with Amu, a Christian divorced woman. Set in Kerala, the book is remarkable for its local color. It critiques the deeply entrenched caste system of the state and the hypocrisy of politics. Kiran Desai, born 1971, still alive, is the daughter of Anita Desai. Her first novel, Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard, published in 1998, was critically acclaimed. Her next book, The Inheritance of Loss, published in 2006, got her the Booker Prize and the worldwide fame. The novel is wide-ranging in scope. While focusing on the lives of Gujarati Americans and the world of immigrants in America, it also engages with socio-political issues in India, such as the assassination of Indira Gandhi, the insurgency in northeastern Himalayas, and women's issues in pre- and post-independent India. Jhumpa Lahiri, born 1967, still alive, is another famous writer who came into the limelight after winning the Pulitzer Prize in 2000 for her short story collection The Interpreter of Maladies, published 1999. Her stories present various issues of Indian culture affecting women. Her next book was a novel, The Namesake, published in 2003, that focuses on the biases and problems faced by the immigrants in America. Some prominent women writers in Indian languages. Let us turn to them. Ashapurna Devi, born 1909, died 1995, is another famous Bengali writer who wrote on women issues. She advocated in her writings the revival of a reformed traditional womanhood, accommodating women's rights and the right to self-expression. In her trilogy Pratham Pratishruti, Subralata and Balukalata, she traces the growth of the feminist movement from the colonial period to the present day India. Ironically, Ashapurna Devi felt that the economically liberated women of contemporary India have become self-centered and deviated from the feminist cause. Ismat Chughtai, born 1915, died 1991, was a revolutionary feminist writer in Urdu who has written provocatively on female sexuality and middle class gentility. Chughtai came from a middle class family where girls were not given formal education. But she managed to persuade her parents to let her study and went on from school to Aligarh Muslim University. Her stories have an earthy character and are taken from everyday life of people. Her famous short story became highly controversial, speaking as it did about a subject that was taboo. Lihaf is about a feudal family where the wife is neglected. The story suggests a sexual liaison between the wife and her maid servant. Mahashweta Devi, born 1926, died 2016, was a social activist and an acclaimed Bengali writer, winner of the Jnanpith Award 1996, Raman Magsaysay Award 1977. Some of her works have been successfully adapted to film, namely Rudali and Hazar Chaurasi Ki Maa. Her remarkable story Draupadi covers tribal women's and Naxalite issues. The above account of Indian women writers indicates the enormous growth in their numbers and the wide range of the subject they write about. However, it is very clear through the choice of their theme that they have given voice to the tension, pressures and challenges that are an inherent part of the lives of women. By articulating the experience and emotions of women, by exploring female subjectivities, by exposing the social and sexual codes that our patriarchal society demands from them, by describing changing social norms that is played out in the lives of women, these writers have portrayed a kaleidoscopic image of Indian woman's life. Thank you.